Emma had already polished off half a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc when she tossed out the bombshell in the middle of our calm Tuesday evening. "I'm thinking we should give a trial separation a shot." The cork sat abandoned on the countertop. The credit card I'd swiped was still practically steaming from the grocery trip that stocked her vegan sorbet and that overpriced imported fig jam she insisted was vital for her emotional well-being. I was grabbing plates from the cupboard when she dropped it, her tone flat and rehearsed, as if she'd run it by someone else first. I didn't let the plates slip. I didn't demand answers. I just listened. And boy, did she love to keep talking. "It's not like I want a divorce. I just need space to rediscover who I am without all the pressure, without the expectations." She twirled her wine glass like she was channeling some self-help influencer from a TikTok video. I caught her reflection in the kitchen window. Sleek hair, piercing eyes, impeccable posture. She looked more like a CEO plotting a corporate pivot than my wife of 16 years dismantling our marriage over cheese and olives. "I'll crash at Sarah's for a while. It's just temporary," she said, pausing as if waiting for me to push back. When I stayed silent, she tacked on, "Oh, and I'll still need access to the joint card. Just for now. Just for necessities." Necessities. Funny how she said that while lounging in a $300 athleisure set I knew she'd snagged from some Instagram ad. I'd seen the email receipt. Self-care must-haves, she'd called them when I asked why a hoodie cost more than a new radiator. Still, I kept my cool. I set her plate down softly on the table, settled into my chair, and flashed a smile I hadn't used since my last deployment. Tight, guarded, surgically civil. "Sure thing," I said. "Take all the time you need." She let out a breath like she'd just sealed a deal. The next morning, she slipped out early, way too early for Sarah's. Dressed a bit too deliberately for someone just chasing self-discovery. She left a note on the fridge like I was the maid. "Thanks for being so cool about this. I'll text you tonight." I brewed coffee, watered the succulents, and fed the dog. Then I reached into the cabinet above the microwave, pulled out the locked steel box, and retrieved the file I hadn't touched in years. Joint accounts, insurance policies, her passwords. Yep, she still recycled them. Most crucially, every credit card statement since 2017. I created a new folder on my laptop labeled Separation Strategy. Then I called Navy Federal and requested a full quarterly report. I set up alerts, turned off overdraft protections, subtle, precise steps, nothing loud, nothing she'd spot. I didn't need to trap her. I already had her. What I needed was patience. And trust me, I've held my ground in tougher spots for longer. By noon, I'd printed the past 6 months of expenses. She'd blown more on spa days and smoothie joints than we'd put toward the house payment. The kicker? She thought the card was still fully joint. Technically, sure. Legally, not after I quietly shifted the primary account holder back to myself and demoted her to authorized user, a status I was about to revoke. That evening, as the sun sank behind the oak trees out back, I poured a glass of her fancy wine. The same one she didn't realize she'd charged to my account last week. Standing at the kitchen island, I sipped slowly, eyeing her latest charge, $640 at a spa touting neuro-wellness. I jotted a reminder, call them tomorrow. If she wanted clarity, I'd deliver it, receipts and all. She hugged me like a doctor bidding farewell to a terminal patient. Soft, detached, already mentally gone. "You're handling this so maturely," she said, her eyes wide and artificially misty, like she was auditioning for a tearjerker. "Most guys would be all insecure or pissed. But you're so chill." I smiled because I was chill. The kind of chill you feel in a foxhole right before the chaos hits. She gave my chest a patronizing pat, like I was her dad dropping her off at a dorm, then grabbed her designer tote and left. No luggage, just the tote and a gym bag. No proper goodbye, just a final glance at the house like she was sizing up an Airbnb before checking out. Her Lexus purred down the driveway and she was gone. I didn't tail her. I didn't ask where she'd be staying. I waited 5 minutes, then headed to the home office, fired up my laptop, and opened the real-time transaction tracker. 5 hours later, $124.67 at a downtown wine bar. 2 glasses of Malbec, a charcuterie board, 2 espresso martinis. Tip, 30%. By Friday, $212.80 at a ritzy salon. Cut, color, gloss, and some rejuvenation scalp soak, whatever that means. Saturday, $43.50 for lunch at that trendy fusion spot she used to scoff at. Sunday, $986 for a deposit at Found Haven Wellness Spa for a full weekend retreat. She hadn't even unpacked her duffel and she was already pampering her soul on my tab. I didn't text her. I didn't freeze the card. That's what she'd anticipate, a blow-up, a showdown. Instead, I beefed up the alerts, transaction monitoring, instant email and text notifications. Geolocation enabled. I even called the card company and set up merchant filters not to stop her, but to track her. You don't reel in the net until the fish is deep in the center. Then I built a spreadsheet, columns for date, time, merchant, amount, location, and a notes section. Just a little pastime, you know? Retired Navy logistics guys need hobbies. Some build birdhouses. I cataloged disloyalty line by line. It's wild how predictable she was. She couldn't resist. The separation gave her a flimsy excuse and just enough distance to ignore the boundaries. She treated it like a beta test for her new lifestyle, not realizing I was already 5 steps ahead. A week later, she texted, "Hope you're holding up okay. I'm finally breathing again. Don't worry, I'm not going wild or anything." Haha. I shot back, "Good to know. Hit me up if you need anything." She missed the subtext. If you need anything, not want, not whims, not spot a splurges, need. Because from here on, I'd be the one defining what counted as essential. That night, I dug into the folder again. This time, I printed the spa receipt in color. On the back, I wrote in neat block letters, "Trial, not trust." Then I highlighted the check-in date. She had no clue, but that receipt wasn't just a transaction. It was the opening move in her own takedown, and I'd already confirmed my attendance. I waited 9 days before making the call. Not because I needed the time, Emma had already served up everything I needed on a silver platter, but because a good trap works best when the bait doesn't twitch too early. His name's Ethan Carter. We served together in Bahrain, back when we were younger, tougher, and spoke the language of systems most people don't even know exist. After the Navy, I settled into civilian life. Ethan? He went into private security, low-key gigs, protecting VIPs, corporate cleanups, high-tech surveillance. Last I heard, he was working for a chain of luxury hotels, running their in-house security, silent, polished enforcement for wealthy guests who valued privacy. If anyone could sniff out a lie wrapped in a plush robe and lavender mist, it was him. He answered on the second ring. "Carter, it's Ryan. Still tangling with tycoons?" A laugh. "Only the ones who tip well." "What's the favor?" "Something discreet." A pause. "Then lay it out." I kept it lean and clinical, no drama, no pity party. My wife, soon to be legally untangled, was booking spa weekends at a wellness retreat his company secured. I needed her flagged. Not confronted, not embarrassed, just watched. I gave him the check-in date, her reservation alias. Yeah, she was using a different last name now. Adorable. And her card number, which she was still swiping like I was her personal ATM. He didn't ask questions. Didn't need to. The silence wasn't doubt, it was him crunching the numbers. What's the play when she checks in? Verify her ID. Let her settle in. Then intercept calmly, professionally. No scene. Just the truth. I'll send you a file. Got it. That was it. No fluff, no chit-chat. That's why I called him. No lectures, no pity, just results. I sealed the file and emailed him the whole package, expense logs, the spa deposit receipt, a timeline, and a note at the bottom, asset misuse under false pretenses. Owner taking back control. She thought she was frolicking in a field of freedom. She didn't see the snare she'd set herself. That night, I scrolled through her Instagram story, a slow sweep of candles and herbal tea. Caption, starting to feel like me again. I studied the glowing clip. No face, just ambience. Soft acoustic music about healing in the background. The irony hit hard. She was flaunting her serenity while charging it to the card she'd used to stab my trust. Every yoga session she booked was another tool she was handing me to carve her exit. But I wasn't mad. What I felt was precision. I was running a mission. I had a window, a plan, and a clear target, my wheelhouse. The next morning, I revisited the folder and added one more piece, a copy of her driver's license next to a note, ID required at check-in. Confirm before services. This wasn't vengeance. That's sloppy, loud, emotional. This was a recalibration, and it was already rolling. The photo popped up just after 3 p.m. peak self-obsessed hour. She was in a creamy bathrobe, barefaced but perfectly lit, hair tucked in a towel like some enlightened guru of mid-range luxury. The caption, no worries, just finding my breath again. Hashtag self-care vibes, hashtag glow up, as if she were meditating in a Tibetan retreat instead of funneling eucalyptus-scented scams through my bank account. I stared at it for a moment. No rage, just that same cool, analytical curiosity I used to feel when shipment logs didn't add up in Kuwait. Something's always hiding in plain sight. Here, it was arrogance. I opened my PDF editor, pulled up our latest bank statement, and marked 2 spa charges in bright yellow. Found Haven Spa, relaxation package, $682, Prosecco add-on, $54. Below, I typed in 12-point Georgia font, happy you're breathing. Just thought I'd show you the air you're charging it to. Attached sent? The read receipt hit in under 2 minutes. Her reply landed 3 minutes later. I needed this. It's not like I'm out clubbing or anything. It's just self-care. With a snarky period at the end, like that settled it. Self-care. She threw that word around like it erased her oversteps. Like crossing my lines was justified once she paired it with a face mask. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. My silence was louder than any argument. Instead, I logged into the private portal Ethan had shared, the spa's internal guest management system. Not public, not meant for me. But Ethan was accommodating when given the right intel and motive. I found her profile. There she was under Emma Thompson, new last name. She thought the alias would keep things neat if anyone poked around, but her birth date and card number were a perfect match. I clicked Flag Guest. Reason: using card not registered to guest identity. Identity verification required at check-in. See attached authorizing party. Attached PDF, her charges, with a note from Ethan's team already embedded in the metadata. The system updated. Status shifted from confirmed to pending clearance. Perfect. Emma had 1 day left at her retreat before her scheduled checkout, but I knew her patterns like the back of my hand. She'd already reserved another weekend at the same spa under the same alias with another bathrobe selfie on the way. But next time, the check-in desk wouldn't greet her with Zen vibes and affirmations. It'd flash a glaring red alert and a note to quietly summon security. She was still clueless, and that was the genius of it. When you counter betrayal with silence and follow it with surgical precision, it's no longer just a response, it's a masterpiece. And mine was just hitting its stride. Most folks think the real damage comes from the loud stuff, slamming doors, yelling matches, or some big, dramatic ultimatum. But those are just noise. The true weapons are silent, sleek, and invisible until they've already struck. Stripping Emma's access as an authorized user took 4 clicks and her birth date. No fanfare, no text alert, just a quiet tweak in the backbone of our shared finances. For now, she could still swipe the card. I kept approvals active at the spa, her fancy salon, and that overpriced market with $12 artisanal honey and kombucha labeled in faux-ancient script. Not out of kindness, but calculation. If she thought the status quo held, she wouldn't switch up her routine. And that was the whole point. Time was counting down. I picked the final cutoff for the Friday before her next spa getaway and marked it on my wall calendar with a blue pen. Not red, too showy. Blue meant control. Blue meant execution. Blue meant that's when the jaws snap shut. Then I dug deeper. I sat down with my attorney, Jack Thompson, a retired Army JAG turned expert in shielding assets for clients who stay miles ahead of wayward partners. I need a trust, locked down and private. I want the house and pension redirected. And I want our joint accounts restructured so she can't touch them if she gets a whiff of this. Jack didn't flinch. Standard bulletproofing. Nah, I want bomb-proof. She shouldn't even sense the fuse. We spent 2 hours hammering out paperwork. New trusts, shifted beneficiaries, and clean splits of every joint asset that wasn't legally bolted down. The new setup was so dull, so ironclad, even a top-tier auditor would need a year and a sworn statement to crack it. By dusk, every account she thought of as ours was either emptied, frozen, or rerouted. Her name wasn't just off the dotted line. It was wiped from the books entirely, and she hadn't noticed a thing. I even let one last breadcrumb slip through. A $75 charge at her go-to Pilates studio cleared without a hitch. I saw the notification pop up and grinned. She was still coasting, still living in a bubble where I was the backdrop she could tune out. Meanwhile, I was backstage flipping switches. That night, I poured a whiskey, stepped onto the back porch, and gazed across the lawn she once called too bland. That was her complaint last year when she pushed for a koi pond or some pricey wind chime from Bali. I didn't budge. Now I was thankful because bland is secure. Bland is steady. Bland doesn't leave a mess when the blade finally drops. The next morning, I checked the spa's guest portal again. Her next booking locked in. Same suite, same facial, same Prosecco add-on. Check-in 3 p.m. Friday. 2 nights. Late checkout requested for Sunday. I set a silent reminder on my phone. No notification, just a marker. Quiet like every move in this plan. Emma still believed we were just testing separation. She thought there was a path back, that this was her moment to spread her wings, toy with her identity, and charge overpriced self-discovery to the guy she called too emotionally closed off. She didn't realize the distance wasn't emotional anymore. It was legal, final, unchangeable. The shift she hadn't clocked wasn't just her name off a card. It was the moment she stopped being my partner and became my project. I waited until the morning before her check-in, mid-morning, when front desk staff are perky but idle. That's when they're most cooperative. I didn't call from my phone. I used a VoIP line routed through a Miami-based shell account from my old consulting days. Not because I was hiding, but because I wanted every word to land with measured authority. There's a difference between a worried spouse and a voice that commands compliance. The receptionist sounded young, maybe 23, eager to sound polished. Found Haven Spa, this is Mia. How may I help you? I'm calling about a reservation for Emma Thompson. Set to arrive tomorrow at 3 p.m. 2-night stay, suite upgrade, Prosecco service included. A pause. Keyboard clicks. Yes, I see it. It's confirmed. Great, I said. I want her check-in to go smoothly. Let her feel at ease, no interruptions. Another pause. But when she presents her ID and confirms the card, your team needs to discreetly ask her to step aside for a brief security check. Sorry, what kind of check? She's using a credit card she's no longer authorized for. I'm the primary account holder. The line went quiet, not hostile, just heavy. I let it sink in for a second. I'll email the paperwork. You'll see the statement with her charges highlighted, plus a letter from the card company confirming the account status. No drama. This isn't fraud. Yet, it's a correction. Sir, I'll need to transfer you to our guest services manager. Already spoke to him. His name's Daniel, extension 204. Tell him the flag's live. She gasped softly. Yes, sir. I ended the call. 2 minutes later, I sent the email. Attached were 3 files, a trimmed PDF of the latest statement, Emma's spa charges marked in red, a screenshot from the card portal showing her removed status, and a memo from Ethan's team noting the request was logged and discretion was required. Subject line, guest flag activation pending. No signature, just an alias I'd set up. R. Bennett, a name that sounds like it charges by the hour and doesn't take pushback. 10 minutes later, Daniel from the spa replied, Mr. Bennett, guest profile flagged for ID verification. Per your request, check-in will proceed before escalation. Security will handle discreetly. Documents filed. Thank you for the details. DS. I shut my laptop and leaned back. Done. Now I just had to wait. Let her slip into that plush robe. Let her think she was queen of her little world again, cleansing herself of the stress of a husband too rigid, too disciplined, too unavailable. She didn't yet grasp that discipline was what had shielded her all these years. And tomorrow at 3:15 p.m., that discipline was going to nudge her shoulder and ask calmly, professionally, how she planned to fund her spa spree without the account she no longer had a claim to. No shouting, no cuffs, just a quiet unmasking in a lavender-scented hall with soft piano music and a glass of cucumber water sweating on the counter. She strolled in like she owned the spa, long steps, chin up, lips shimmering with high-end gloss that screamed, I've transcended, even if her core hadn't evolved since her high school drama days. Her sunglasses were huge, black, some Italian brand she couldn't pronounce without a Google search. She slid them off dramatically at the check-in desk like she was starring in a movie. Her fingers danced on her phone as she flashed a smile at the receptionist, the same one I'd spoken to, now working from a very different playbook. Hi, Emma Thompson, checking in for the 2-night signature Serenity package, she said, her voice breezy, confident, expectant. The receptionist smiled, typed, then froze. Her smile wavered. The screen had lit up red, guest flag. ID verification required. See internal file 4A. Alert security discreetly. Do not escalate until reviewed. Just 1 second, ma'am, the girl said, standing quickly. I'll grab your welcome packet. Emma didn't bat an eye. Why would she? She was already scoping out the lobby, probably mentally framing her next Instagram story with the spa's decor and some cringy caption like, recharge mode on #glow vibes. Then the first man appeared, tall, gray suit, earpiece, all business. Behind him, another, stocky, navy suit, holding a clipboard. Ma'am, could we speak with you for a moment? She turned with a playful chuckle. What, are you guys the VIP welcome crew now? She thought it was a gimmick, maybe some quirky spa perk. A surprise massage, perhaps. We just need to confirm something before you complete check-in, the tall one said. Then came the clipboard, a laminated sheet attached. Her expression shifted, just a flicker, the kind of tell-you-only spot if you've been trained to catch when someone's confidence starts to crack. What's this about? She asked, her tone sharper. They turned the page toward her. This is the financial record for the card tied to your reservation. We've been notified that the account's primary holder has revoked your authorization. This is absurd, she shot back. I'm authorized. I've used it here before. Ma'am, we're not questioning past usage, but we've been directed to verify your identity and alert the account holder of any check-in attempts under the current setup. Emma's jaw dropped, then snapped shut. She yanked out her phone like it was a lifeline and stabbed at my contact. Locked. She tried again. Straight to voicemail, nothing but silence. Call him, she snapped. Get him on the line now. We've been instructed not to reach out to him, only to log this interaction. She stared at the man, her eyes searching for a grip on what was happening. Her spa robe hadn't even been handed to her yet. Her Prosecco was still chilling in some backroom fridge. The lobby's soft music played on, indifferent to how fast her little escape bubble was popping. Emma glanced around, maybe hoping for a hidden camera, maybe wishing this was some avant-garde stunt she hadn't prepped for. It wasn't. It was a moment crafted, precise, and spotless, and it was hers to face solo. They guided her courteously to a private lounge, not to hold her, just to explain, to let her sit with the reality of a world that no longer danced to her tune. The card was frozen, the room reassigned. The spa quietly scrubbed her from their VIP list. No clash, just a smooth adjustment and a long, quiet trek back to her car with her weekend bag, her pride crumpled at the bottom and no one left to foot the bill. She peeled out of the spa's lot like the place had spat in her face. I bet the drive home was a storm of swear words, unsent angry texts, and the slow dawning truth that she'd lost the upper hand in her own script. By the time she rolled into the driveway, the sun was dipping, painting long shadows across the cul-de-sac. The neighbors she used to greet with over-the-top waves were tucked inside, blinds shut. No crowd, just stillness and a house that no longer knew her name. She climbed out of her Lexus like a soldier limping back from a lost fight. Her hair was messy, no longer salon perfect, and the fire in her eyes had dulled. She stormed to the front door with the fierce confidence of someone who still thought she could charm her way out of anything. She swiped her key card. Red light. Blinked, tried again. Red again. Then she froze, staring as the light blinked back, like the house itself had cut her off. Her face twisted, first confusion, then disbelief, then fury. She dug into her bag, grabbed her phone, and tried calling me again. Still blocked. Texted. What the hell is this? Let me in. No delivery, no read receipt, just a void. That's when she spotted it, taped to the glass, perfectly centered, impossible to ignore, a manila envelope, one strip of tape at the top, clean and deliberate. Her name scrawled across it in bold, all-caps block letters. She ripped it down like it had cursed her out. Inside, one document, no frills, no fancy letterhead, just stark font and 2 crisp pages titled, Final Separation Terms. Subtitle, effective immediately. The points were blunt and brutal. No fluff, just truth, joint accounts terminated. Credit access canceled. Asset reallocation in progress. No further financial support allowed. Halfway down page 2, one line was circled in red, all cards deactivated, all access ended. Her hands trembled. I'd bet her lips shook, not from sorrow, but from shock. Because Emma never thought consequences were for her. Not really. She figured my patience was infinite. That my silence meant weakness. But silence is just strategy with a deadline. She glanced at the street. No cavalry coming. No reality TV crew, just her, the car she was still paying off, and the porch of a home that had officially left her behind. She tried the door again, knocked once, then twice. Nothing. The lock held firm. The lights inside stayed steady. The guy she'd called too predictable, too dull, too cautious had just pulled off a total blackout without shouting, without a heads-up, without ever raising his voice. She was alone, not just emotionally, but practically. As she sank back into her fancy driver's seat, fists tight, the irony should have hit like a brick. She'd begged for space. Now she had it in spades. The voicemail landed at 6:42 p.m. Before that, the day was all confirmations. First, the spa. A call from the guest services manager, polite to a fault, the kind of voice used to soothing rich donors and overzealous wellness buffs. Mr. Bennett, he said, sticking to the alias without a hitch, just wanted to personally thank you. It was handled with utmost discretion. No fuss, no complaints lodged. She left on her own. Eventually, I could hear the unease in his voice. Spa staff aren't built for emotional fallout. They're trained to arrange candles and fold towels into origami, not manage a woman realizing mid-lobby that her free pass just crashed. Thanks for the professionalism, I said, sipping my coffee. Make sure she's not booked again. He coughed lightly. Absolutely, her profile's flagged. Permanent do not book status applied. Call over. Then the bank called. Same vibe, bigger stakes. Mr. Thompson, we're confirming the denial of multiple pending charges on a restricted card. Per your recent authorization update, merchant approvals have been pulled and the card's inactive. The woman paused. There was a try earlier today. High-end retail, $683.42. Denied. I grinned. Of course she tried. Even in a tailspin, Emma thought she could shop her way out. Thanks, I said. Keep the block tight. Yes, sir. And just to clarify, she has no access to any shared accounts. Correct. She never did, I said. She just didn't know it yet. After that call, the voicemail hit from a new number with an out-of-state area code. Probably a cheap burner she grabbed on the way back. The ID read private caller. I didn't pick up. I watched the message transcribe on my screen. Ryan, please. I don't even know what's going on. I thought we were just working through things. You said it was a trial. You said we'd talk. What is this? I don't understand what's happening. You blocked me. You changed everything. I don't even have a place to stay tonight. Please, can we just talk? I messed up. But this isn't what I expected. The crying started halfway through. Not a drop for her actions. Just panic for what she couldn't pull off anymore. I didn't play the whole thing. Didn't need to. I opened my messages, tapped her name. Still saved as Emma wife. A leftover I hadn't updated until now. I typed one line, 7 letters, 2 words, period. It was. Then I blocked the new number. Not out of spite, but closure because the discussion was done. And the trial? That ended the second she mistook my restraint for approval. She showed up 15 minutes early. That was the first clue. Emma was never early for anything unless there was a mimosa involved. But there she was in full war paint. Hair styled in soft curls, blazer cut to scream she was still a catch, and pale pink lipstick picked to hint at remorse or innocence. Maybe both. She sat at the long mahogany table like she was prepping for a redemption arc on a talk show. She even crossed her legs deliberately, ankle over knee, flaunting the heels I'd bought her on a Palm Springs trip, back when she still said thanks without a motive. I walked in right on time, no theatrics, no flair, just me. A sleek briefcase in one hand and a steadiness on my face she hadn't seen since the early 2000s. The kind of calm that comes from knowing you're bulletproof. Her eyes narrowed just a touch. She was braced for a sulky, stumbling guy desperate to save something. Instead, I gave her a curt nod and sat across from her like we were strangers hashing out a mundane real estate deal. My lawyer, Claire, was a silent predator in a navy suit. She pulled out one binder. Just one. Didn't open it yet. Just let it rest there like a loaded trap. The mediator, a woman in her 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and the patience of someone who'd seen every drama, cleared her throat and started. Ms. Thompson has requested a mediated review of asset splits, aiming for limited alimony based on the marriage's length and her current lifestyle. That's when Claire slid the binder forward and flipped to page 1. No speech, just evidence. Receipts, bank statements, screenshots, a letter from the card company confirming Emma's removal as an authorized user, logs of thousands in unapproved spending after the separation, emails to the spa's response, even the voicemail transcript. Yeah, I had it typed up in crisp legal format. Claire spoke once. There'll be no alimony. She initiated the separation, continued to use funds without permission, and deliberately misused access. Emma laughed. Actually laughed. That's not misuse. Ryan never said I couldn't use the card. He agreed to the trial separation. He never. But the mediator was already pushing the stapled printouts toward her. Neatly organized, itemized. Emma's mouth hung open. Her hands twitched, but she wasn't turning pages. She was reaching for a lifeline that didn't exist. Miss Thompson, the mediator said evenly, you might want to look these over before pressing your case. Silence. Claire didn't glance at her. Neither did I. I just stood. No grand exit, no parting shots, just the soft scrape of my chair and the faint click of the binder snapping shut. I reached across, shook the mediator's hand, nodded to Claire, and walked out. Behind me, I heard her voice, smaller now, but I thought it was just a trial. Then Claire's voice, low and razor-sharp, you shouldn't have assumed just a trial. I didn't smile until I hit the parking lot. Not because I'd won, but because I'd closed it clean, legal, final. The only thing Emma could charge now was regret.